2025 is going to be a super expensive year for gamers. We've got GTA, Death Stranding, and many more AAA games. So I know you are saving up, and many of you are broke like me. Well, here's 15 must-play free Steam games to play in 2025 that are just as good as the paid ones. Even better. First up, we have Enlisted, which is one of the best free games if you're into military shooters and want something a little more grounded than the usual arcade-style gameplay of Call of Duty. This free-to-play gem drops you right into massive World War II battles where you don't just play as one soldier, but you actually control a whole squad. You can switch between your squad mates in real time, which makes for a very challenging but also rewarding experience on the battlefield. The combat feels intense and tactical, with weapons and vehicles that look and handle like they really should. And it also looks pretty good, packed with detailed maps that feel like actual war zones, from bombed-out cities to dense forests. It's a lot grittier and more realistic than Call of Duty, but not as hardcore as something like Hell Let Loose. Think of it as the perfect middle ground between fast-paced action and a more immersive war simulation. And it's totally free, so yeah, definitely check that out. Then we got Marvel Rivals, which is easily one of the most popular free games right now, and for good reason. The game lets you battle superheroes like Spider-Man against Magneto or Doctor Strange against Iron Man, with tons more characters to choose from. It's all about epic clashes between Marvel's biggest heroes and villains, giving you full control over your dream team. The gameplay is fast and strategic, so whether you're teaming up with friends or taking on random players, every fight feels action-packed and unpredictable. And the game actually looks pretty awesome too, with flashy, comic book-style visuals that make every battle feel larger than life. You'll be smashing through enemies with Hulk's raw power, or you can outwit your opponents with Loki's tricks, letting you pick a playstyle that fits you. It's kind of like Injustice 2, but built around the Marvel Universe. With its massive fan base and constant updates, it's a game you'll want to keep coming back to. The Finals is one of the best free-to-play shooters out there and my personal favorite. The game is a mix of intense combat, kind of like Call of Duty, but with its own unique flair. It's not overly arcadey, and the big highlight is how almost everything in the environment is destructible. Walls, floors, and even whole buildings can be blown apart, completely changing the way you approach every fight. No two matches feel the same, and it keeps you on your toes the whole time. The visuals are slick, versatile. You can use a mix of weapons and gadgets to fit your style. You can blow up walls with C4 or pick off enemies with precision shots. There's plenty of room to experiment around. If you're into shooters with a competitive edge, The Finals is definitely worth checking out.
Special delivery! A contestant has been...
If you are looking for a more horror experience, check out SCP Secret Laboratory. It's one of the best free horror games you can play right now. It's a multiplayer experience based on the creepy SCP Foundation lore, where each match is packed with chaos and suspense. You can play as a scientist trying to escape, a soldier sent to clean up the mess, or one of the terrifying SCP creatures hunting everyone down. Every role feels unique, and no two matches are the same because the game keeps you guessing with its unpredictable gameplay. The visuals are dark and unsettling, with creepy environments that make the whole experience even scarier. The sound design nails it too, with eerie noises and sudden scares that keep you looking over your shoulder. Whether you're playing with friends or strangers, the game is a mix of strategy, survival, and total madness. Then we have this game called Neverness to Everness, which is a 3D action RPG that drops you into a massive open world with the freedom to explore and switch between characters, each with their own special abilities called Esper abilities. You'll be running, jumping, climbing, swimming, and even driving vehicles to get around, which makes exploring the world feel dynamic and fun. And what's interesting is that each character's skills work together, so you can create awesome combos and strategies while taking on enemies or solving challenges along the way. The world is stunning and packed with secrets and items to collect, so there's always something to discover as you explore. Movement feels smooth, and while the stamina bar limits some special actions, it regenerates quickly, keeping the pace steady and in year. The world is stunning and packed with secrets and items to collect, so there's always something to discover as you explore. Movement feels smooth, and while the stamina bar limits some special actions, it regenerates quickly, keeping the pace steady and engaging. If you're into action RPGs with tons of freedom to play your way, Neverness to Everness is a fantastic pick. Supermarket Together is hands down one of the best co-op games out there, especially if you're into chaotic and hilarious teamwork. It's basically a supermarket simulator where you and your friends run a busy store together. You'll stock shelves, manage customers, and deal with all kinds of unexpected events while trying to keep the store running smoothly. It sounds simple, but when you add in the pressure of time limits and wacky situations, things quickly get wild. If you enjoyed games like Overcooked or Moving Out, this one's going to be right up your alley. The fun of Supermarket Together comes from how unpredictable and fast-paced it is. One second, you're calmly organizing fruit, and the next, you're chasing down a runaway cart or dealing with a flood of impatient customers. The cartoony visuals and goofy physics add to the charm, making every round feel like a mix of strategy and comedy. It's a game that's all about teamwork, or absolute chaos if your friends are anything like mine. Either way, it's a total blast and one of the most entertaining co-op games you can play for free. Next up is Dark and Darker, a hardcore dungeon-crawling RPG that's all about survival, teamwork, and a bit of luck, I guess. You and your team will be jumping into dark, creepy dungeons filled with deadly traps, terrifying monsters, and plenty of treasure to loot. You will be up against both AI and other players who are also roaming the same dungeons, and they're just as eager to take the treasure for themselves. It's intense, unforgiving, and every trip into the dungeon feels like a high-stakes adventure where anything can happen. What makes Dark and Darker so unique is the mix of RPG mechanics with that survival feel. You choose a class like a fighter, rogue, or wizard, and each one has its own strengths and weaknesses. Teamwork is key because surviving alone is nearly impossible in this game, especially when you run into a rival team at the worst moment. So if you're a fan of games like Escape from Tarkov but want something with swords, spells, and a fantasy twist, Dark and Darker is absolutely worth diving into. Warframe is a game that doesn't need much of an introduction. It's been around for a long time, and for good reason. It's one of the best free shooters out there. The game's all about shooting, running, and jumping around in fast-paced action. You can team up with up to 3 friends to take on missions, which is a big part of what makes it so fun. You can be fighting enemies or completing different tasks. This co-op play helps keep things exciting. What makes Warframe stand out, though, is how you move. You can run on walls, slide around, and do all kinds of crazy stuff that most shooters don't let you do. The game also gives you a lot of choices when it comes to weapons and abilities, so you can play however you like. If you want a shooter that's fun to play with friends and offers tons of action, Warframe is a solid pick. Now, Predecessor is a free-to-play MOBA that's perfect if you're into strategy and team-based gameplay. It's a game where you team up with others to fight against an enemy team, aiming to destroy their base before they destroy yours. What sets it apart from other MOBAs is its smoother, more action-packed gameplay and its use of third-person perspective, which adds a bit more intensity compared to the usual top-down view. Every match is all about teamwork, tactics, and picking the right heroes for the job. The game's visuals are sharp, with detailed characters and maps that really bring the action to life. It's also got a solid range of heroes, each with their own abilities and playstyles, so you can pick one that fits your strategy. If you're a fan of games like League of Legends or Smite but want something a bit more hands-on and different, Predecessor is a great choice. Let's talk racing now, and Asphalt Legends Unite is a great one if you're looking for one. It's fast, fun, and has some of the best driving mechanics you'll find in a free game. You'll race on exciting tracks in a variety of high-speed cars, drifting around corners and pulling off stunts as you go. The gameplay feels smooth and keeps things interesting, whether you're trying to beat AI opponents or racing other players online. The game looks great with detailed environments and stylish cars that make every race feel exciting. There's a lot to do, from upgrading your cars to taking on new challenges, so it's easy to sink hours into it. Best of all, it's completely free, so you can jump in and start racing right away. Undefeated is one of those hidden gems you'd never expect to be free. If you're into games like Infamous or Prototype but don't feel like spending cash, this one's a perfect alternative. You play as an all-powerful superhero, soaring through the city, saving civilians, and let's be real, causing a bit of chaos when the mood strikes. It's just pure fun from start to finish. The gameplay keeps it simple but super satisfying. You've got flight, super speed, and epic attacks that'll make you feel like an unstoppable force. The visuals aren't AAA, but they're polished enough to make the city feel alive and packed with action. What stands out is how well it nails that superhero fantasy. No complicated systems, no paywalls, just good old-fashioned fun. It's short, action-packed, and perfect if you're looking to kick back and unleash your inner hero. Then there's Torchlight Infinite, a fast-paced action RPG that's all about taking down waves of enemies, collecting loot, and powering up your character. The world is packed with dungeons to explore, gear to find, and big bosses to defeat. The combat is smooth and satisfying, letting you chain together skills and unleash powerful attacks. If you've played games like Diablo or Path of Exile, this one has a similar vibe but adds its own charm to the mix. You can choose from different heroes, each with unique abilities and playstyles, so there's plenty of room to customize and find what works best for you. With tons of loot to gather and skills to unlock, it's easy to get hooked on upgrading your character. Brawlhalla is a super fun and fast-paced brawler where you pick from a wide range of characters and battle it out in these chaotic, platform-style arenas. You can play solo or team up with friends. The goal is to knock your opponents off the stage before they do the same to you. The game's simple mechanics make it easy to jump into, but the combo possibilities and character variety keep things exciting as you get better. If you've played Smash Brothers and want something that's free to play, Brawlhalla is definitely worth your time. Or you can also go with Multiverses, another epic brawler. And in this one, you can pick characters from all kinds of cartoons and pop culture like Bugs Bunny, Batman, Shaggy, and more. Both games have that same fun, competitive energy, but Multiverses brings in that familiar charm of famous characters, which adds a lot of personality to the brawls. Whether you go for Brawlhalla or Multiverses, you'll have a blast throwing punches with friends and enemies alike. Fallout Shelter is a great pick if you're into strategy and management games. In this free-to-play title, you take charge of your own vault, a fallout shelter that's keeping survivors safe after a nuclear apocalypse. Your job is to manage the resources like power, food, and water, while making sure everyone stays happy and healthy. You'll also have to defend your vault from threats like raiders and radroaches. The game's all about balancing priorities and upgrading your vault to make sure it survives in a dangerous world. What makes Fallout Shelter really fun is how simple yet addictive it is. You can build new rooms, assign your dwellers to jobs, and send them out to explore the wasteland for loot. The art style is lighthearted and cartoony, which gives a nice touch to the whole post-apocalyptic setting. Do check out if action isn't your thing. Last but not least, Team Fortress 2 is an absolute classic and one of the best free-to-play shooters out there. It's a team-based game where you pick from a roster of unique characters, each with their own abilities and playstyles. Whether you're capturing points, defending a base, or trying to sneak a briefcase past the enemy, the game is all about teamwork and strategy. Even though it's been around for years, it's still just as fun and chaotic as ever. The game's super easy to jump into for everyone, for a beginner or a seasoned player. The cartoony art style gives it a unique vibe, and the characters are packed with personality and humor, keeping things light and entertaining. If you're into team shooters but want something that feels more laid back and fun, Team Fortress 2 is a perfect pick. And with that, we have reached the end of this list. Let me know what you think about these games and share if you have any favorites or any other game that you want me to include in the next videos. That's pretty much it, guys. Thanks so much for watching and see you in the next one.